Hey, I'm so glad you're here today. We are going to make some tier tray signs using free printables. I'm going to tell you how to get the printables, and I'm going to tell you how to enter the giveaway to get these signs. But first, I want you to like and subscribe to the channel so that we can stay in touch. I'm Amy Green with Amy and Art Designs, and I'm so excited you're here, and I can't wait to craft with you today. So, y'all, the printables are linked down below in the subscription. Go grab that, and while you're down there, make sure that you also enter the giveaway. I'm going to be sending someone a set of these wooden signs. You're going to get 2 of each so that you can make your own tier tray decor signs using these, and they're really cute. I've used the wooden blocks before from Amazon. I've got a video about that. I think it was around Halloween time. And I liked those, but I also like the idea of having a frame around my printable. And I like the freestanding. So we're going to try both of those today. Let me show you what we're going to use. Aside from the free printables, I'm going to use a craft iron. We're going to use Mod Podge. I'm going to use the craft iron method, and you need parchment paper for that. I've got this to put my Mod Podge on with. I'm going to use black paint for the frame and this stand. I'm going to use baby wipes to paint because I want to go for a more weathered farmhouse look, and this will just save me time. I won't have to do as much sanding. And I've got this Duraclear Ultra Matte, which is, I'm obsessed with this. This is the best sealer, especially if you're doing a farmhouse type style, because it is not shiny at all. It's ultra matte. And the link for that is in my Amazon shop. So go grab some of this. You are going to love it. Okay, so the first step after you have your printables, guys, is you're going to paint your signs. You only need to paint the frame and the stand. If you want to paint this white, you absolutely can. I'm not going to do that. If you look at the paper I have, it might show through a little. Let me see. The paper I have is thick enough that it's not going to show through, so I'm not really worried about painting that at all. Sometimes if you have really thin paper, you're going to be able to see a little bit of this wood, and it might look a little yellow. So in that case, you'd want to paint the sign, but I'm not going to bother with that. So I've got this. I'm going to paint this, and then we will be back after I paint to start the Mod Podge process. I know I told you I was going to skip the painting part, but I decided that some people might not know what I'm talking about when I say paint with a baby wipe. So literally I just have a glove on. I've got the baby wipe wrapped around the end of my finger, and I rub the paint right into the wood, and you get more of a stain look than a paint look, and it's really beautiful. So I absolutely love this technique. So these are painted, and what I want to show you is that they dry really quickly. And that process, as you saw in the video, you just wipe the paint across, and it gives you kind of more of a stained look, and I love this look. So we're just going to set this aside, and we're going to get started cutting our printables out. I'm going to use the Be Mine and the hearts today, so I'm going to set the third one aside. How cute is that? For this one, I'm going to cut a little bit wider than the edge because I can see the edge of my printable. And I've got my craft iron plugged in, so that'll be ready to go when we need it. All right. This one's on a white background, so we just need to cut around it roughly, and then we'll use the wood to figure out exactly where those edges need to be. I'll show you how. It's super easy. So I print my printables on a thicker paper. I'll link it in my Amazon store so that you know which paper I use. It does make a difference with your printables. If you're using really inexpensive paper, it's just you don't get as nice of a product in the end. But the next thing I want to do is, well, I need to get the lid off my Mod Podge. That's going to be important. Lordy. There we go. Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe we'll just cut that. Okay, so because I'm not going to Mod Podge a very large area at all, I'm not even going to pour it out. I've just got my makeup wipe, and I'm going to go right across here. I'm not going to worry about going further. It doesn't matter because we're going to glue the frame on top of this. And so all we need to do is put a nice coat of Mod Podge on, and we're gonna let it dry. Okay, we want it dry to the touch. Now this one is a little smaller because it doesn't have a frame. It's just gonna be a freestanding sign. And again, we're gonna Mod Podge. Just, we wanna get to the edges. That's where the biggest mistakes, I think, are made, is that people don't go all the way to the edges with their Mod Podge, and then when they try and iron it on, it comes up. You've got to get those edges really good to get your edges to, I should have a piece of cardboard under here. So you can kind of turn your board to the side and tell where you've missed a spot. And I know you think, gosh, I went over the whole thing. I always double check just to make sure that I haven't missed a spot, because I want my printable to adhere. Okay, after I've done all this, I mean, you just always want to be effective in your crafting. You don't want to do the work and then get to the end and it not be what you want. Okay, so I'm putting a nice coat on here. On this one, I don't need to go all the way to the edge because I'm going to put a frame on, but I'm just cover my bases. Just easier, right? To get your Mod Podge on there. And that's all we need to do. And then we just need to let this dry to the touch. You can let it dry naturally, just leave it out to dry, or you can use a craft iron or a heat iron, which is what I'm gonna do. It's not plugged in, which is, I'm not surprised it's not plugged in, but let's see here. Okay. Not a craft iron, a heat gun. This is called a heat gun. Okay, so I have this cut out because I'm going to put it on this sign. The one thing that I want is a straight line on the bottom. So I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to, I use this mat all the time. If you don't have one of these mats, get one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line that's going through this faux shiplap background, and I'm going to line it up with a line there so that I know my sign is straight, okay? Then I'm going to take, this is just me being creative, this, well, I might need to hold it in place. I'm going to take this and put it here. It's more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Okay. And make sure that my sign is straight. And do I have this right? Yeah. If I would have just gotten some painter's tape out, it would have been quicker, but this works. And then I'm going to use my roller to cut that. So I've got a straight line across the bottom. That's what I'm going for. And that's going to go here. So the rest of it, now I can take my finger and kind of see where the edges of the sign are. And I can just use my finger to kind of do that, to crease the paper. And I'm just gonna cut right on the outside of that crease, okay? For the most part, don't worry, we'll fix it if it's not just right. So now I'm gonna line this back up. I'm gonna put this on here. I'm gonna ooch it just a little, okay? And I'm gonna take my parchment paper and I'm going to iron this on. Okay. Now, the paper, when you iron on paper, it takes a little more effort in terms of, let me open this all the way up. Getting it on there, and cardstock is even more tricky because it's thicker. Because what you're doing is the heat somehow activates the glue. I have no idea the science behind it, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. But the heat somehow activates the glue and makes the paper stick to the wood. Okay? That's pretty good. If you have a napkin, it's so fast, you know? But again, I want you to make sure you're going around all of your edges. Put some decent pressure on there. And make sure that your paper is adhered. Okay. And we're good there. So we're going to set that one aside. Now we're going to do this one. Okay, so this, I do not want it to hang over the edges because I'm going to put my frame over the top. So the 4x4 area on this sign is really close to the hearts, okay? Trim it down just a little. I would rather trim it a couple times than have it be too short and have to print it again, right? Okay. I want to scoot it over just a little. And I actually am going to use my painter's tape this time just to hold it. I want a tiny piece. I'm just gonna put it on the corners when I get it where I want until I have my sign where I want, so that, and then I'll take it off so that the painter's tape doesn't get stuck to my wood. I'm gonna scoot it over just a little. That's about right. So, okay. Okay, so now I'm going to line it up again and look at it. And that looks really good to me. So, I always like to start in the middle with my iron. So, I'm going to put my iron in the middle, kind of hold it in place. This little craft iron came from Amazon. It's linked to my Amazon store below. Love the little craft iron. I know, I just, for as much as I use it, I think a bigger iron would be cumbersome, honestly, when you're working with something smaller. And it's so great to just have this little iron down here and use it whenever I need it. Okay. So the reason I really like this method is because the Mod Podge is dry. And your paper doesn't get too wet. It doesn't bubble. I really like this method a lot. It's probably the, depending on what I'm doing, it's my preferred Mod Podge method. Okay, so that's gonna look great. See how great that looks? Okay, we're gonna work on this piece now. We're gonna get the extra off of the edge. You're gonna need a piece of sandpaper or a sanding block. I never use a sanding block. I always use sandpaper. So this is 320 grit. And all you're gonna do is just go along the edge. Until you sand through that paper and it peels off, okay? We could stop here and just put the sealer on here, but I want to show you how to distress this. So if you wanted to distress this sign, you can use Decor wax. It's home decor wax. This is an antique. And it's one of my favorite. Now, here's what I'm gonna tell you. A little of this goes a very long way, okay? So I hardly have any on my sponge. And it really does get the paper. So you're not doing it on paint, okay? So you have to be super careful because it's hard. If you do it on a painted surface and you get too much and you don't like how it looks, okay? You can just sand it down. If you need to add a little more paint, you can, no big deal. But this is the paper surface, and you know, if you rub a big blotch of Decor wax across the middle and you don't like how it looks, there's really not a lot you can do to fix it besides start over. So I'm just going super gently around the edges. I'm not going to go through the middle on this one because it's already got that shiplap background, which I think is good enough. And we just want to add a little bit of fun and character to this, okay? So it's not perfectly, there's not a lot of aging, just very lightly. So I'll show you on the edges here. If you wanted to, you could go in and sand down the paper a little more like that and expose a little more of the wood. And then that wood will pick up the Decor wax also, see? So it's just for an option, just an option for you if you kind of like that look. You want something that looks a little more aged and maybe not so perfect. Okay. All right, so that's all I'm gonna do. Very, very lightly distressed because again, I don't want it to be all over the paper like I might do on a mini sign. I just want a little bit of personality so it doesn't look right off the shelf. Now this one I'm gonna leave alone because I don't wanna get into the distressing on this. So before we're gonna glue our stands together and our frame on. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to use my Gorilla Glue spray adhesive and some clips, which I forgot my clips. I didn't really think through this. So, scratch. Okay, I'm going to use Gorilla Glue spray adhesive and some clips. You just want to shake your Gorilla Glue really well before you use it. I spray it on. I'm going to spray it in a box top, and then we'll clip it together. So the reason you want to spray it in a box top is obviously it's spray adhesive. It's going to go everywhere if you don't. So all right. You want to get it lined up, check your edges, because it should be a perfect fit. You're going to clamp it together. Same thing for this. We're going to take this. This is our stand on the bottom. And we're going to just put this down in the middle. Okay. And Oh, that pushed it over a little bit. I don't know if you could see that, but that's one thing about these littler pieces. You just have to watch and make sure that when you clamp, it doesn't scoot around. So we'll put 4 on here just to, okay. All right, so our last step is we're gonna put a nice coat of Duraclear on it to protect our project. It is paper, and I always tell people when you're napkin crafting or you're using paper decoupage, it's a great idea to protect it, to keep it, not that you can't use it just like this, but we're gonna protect it. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me show you this next step too. This is gonna make our stand. So just like this, it's not always gonna stand up perfect, but if we add just a little piece of this here, okay, I'm just gonna do the same thing. This is gonna make it stand up. Okay, last step. I've got my sign together. I've got this is lightly distressed, and we are gonna use this ultra matte Duraclear to put a coat on the top. Now this starts out milky, all right, but it dries white or clear. It does not dry white. Take that back. But it is my favorite product. It goes on so smoothly. So the tip I'm going to give you is one, you don't want to go super thick, and I want you to try and go in one direction. So if you're going to go back and forth, great, but don't go up and down on the sides. Just go back and forth, if that makes sense, because you don't want to risk brush strokes, which I can't with this one. Sometimes with the satin, there's a satin and a gloss. The satin I can see some brush strokes. With the ultra matte, not usually. All right, so let's do the Be Mine sign. I'm gonna turn it to the side because I'm gonna want to go back and forth. Okay, and I want to go quick. I don't want to saturate the paper. I just want to get it covered. There is a little something in there. Who knows what it is? So probably speed this up for you because, okay. So that is bubbling just a little bit there. Can you see that? Oops. Take that right off of there. I am going to show you how to fix that here in just a minute. Okay. But let's do this one. So this, I do change directions across the top because it's a thin frame, and yeah. So make sure that if there's anywhere that's thick, you go back and you get it. And if it pulls in the corners, just take your brush in, pull it out. Okay. Okay, so this right here where it's lightly sticking up. My craft iron is, where's my stupid parchment paper? Fall off the table. Well, this is kind of important. There it is. All right, so where it's sticking up just a little, now you gotta remember that Okay. And I'm just literally gonna iron it back down. So this is the other reason I like to use the DuraClear on these signs and not the Mod Podge to seal it. I mean, I know you can, all right? But when you do that and you try and iron the paper back down, I'll show you, it's down. It, what am I trying to say? It can stick because the Mod Podge is sticky, right, when you iron it. So I'm gonna do the inside of this quickly. All right, I'm gonna speed this up just so you can see I'm doing the same process. The only thing I want you to be aware of with the inside of the frame is that there's a potential for pooling in the corners, and you don't want that to dry that way. So just make sure around the edges and the corners you've got it all cleaned up so that there's no pooling. And if you need to, iron down any bubbles again. And if you've got that little craft iron, it's going to be the perfect size for this. So there you go. We made 2 tiered tray signs using free printables and wood cutouts. And are they precious or what? These are going to look great on any tiered tray. And I cannot wait for you to get the printables. So again, make sure that you like and subscribe. Go down below. And for the giveaway, you have to be subscribed to my email. You have to like and subscribe to my channel. I can't wait to send 4 of these to someone so they can make their own. All right, again, I'm Amy Green from Amy and Art Designs. Thank you so much for crafting with me, and I can't wait to see you next week.